Hello and welcome back. Today we are continuing our Kilwa run, where at the end of last episode we kind of really hit an important inflection point where we could accept both Shona and Chewa pops, which makes it so that we can colonize these instantly. Once we get all of these kind of colonies coming through, this is going to really set for ourselves a pretty big power base. We're expecting to see the pop fly up, but then we're going to try and tamp it down as we have been doing so far, trying to maintain just really high proximity locations in general in terms of what we're actually owning and releasing the rest. These released countries will generally speaking be using dev province. The provinces are very valuable for us, except for to the extent that they are providing buy and sell orders for the market, this type of stuff. And also, if we have low control in areas, we will not get a lot of value from them from the tax base. And we are really kind of just a trade empire anyways. Our trade income is 41. That's like half of our income, and that's even with a pretty depressed crown power. So we're going to be looking to get our crown power coming on up. We are going to be looking to kind of release some of these subjects as best we can, and this is kind of fitting pretty well with the decentralization meta, I think, where we are getting a ton of loyalty, and so we are able to maintain much more loyal subjects than we otherwise would be able to, despite them starting to get powerful. We are going to start annexing them at least a little bit, but we really do like these OPM subjects where they are going to be able to dev up the province for us. We've even released subjects where we have cores in all of these areas, although we will probably bring them back into the fold reasonably quickly, especially as we start to get stuff online as it relates to our naval kind of situation, which is going to be coming up quite nicely. These guys do need to come back and repair, but we have just gotten the Kilwa Dao, which is going to be effectively the equivalent of an Age 3 bark, but with much cheaper cost at base price, but we as Kilwa also get minus 25% maintenance, and so we're going to really be able to pop off the back of these ships, and so expecting to just kind of start to annex or integrate a lot of the stuff on the coast. And by on the coast, I am including the lakes, because the lake propagation is quite strong as well. It's only taking, what is this, 8-ish proximity to move from here to the lake to over here, which is why we have, in this gold province, we have no business, perhaps, having this amount of proximity, and we have 40-something proximity, and that's just going to get better with the next tier roads coming in, and also, when we eventually do colonize this land, which is kind of going to probably be on the table once we are going to be getting some of the techs in the next stage. For this age, we are primarily trying to abuse missions, and with the missions, the colonial building of mission, if we convert a bunch of pops and we accept the pops, then we can flip it instantly rather than needing to pay for the colonies, although that is what we are paying for a lot right now, because we kind of wanted to show off flipping a whole bunch of colonies. We're paying for 5 colonies. Some of these will finish in relatively short order. This is an enormous amount to be paying for us relative to the size of our economy. Probably a little bit too gung-ho about it. Probably should have just started 3 of them, got some of these, added the missions, because we have locations like this where we accept the Shona pops, but we need to convert 200 of them in order to finish this colony. But it shouldn't be too bad, and we should just basically everything that's Shona and Chewa will get filled in very quickly here. We're going to start annexing Bawini. A couple of reasons. One, they are spread across 3 provinces, so their dev province interaction won't be that effective. But 2, we do want more pops that are Saka Lava. That way we can accept the pops, and once we accept them, we'll be in good shape. We don't have enough of them. I think this is the requirement that is not yet satisfied. I think you have to be able to accept the pops, or tolerate the pop, which we need 1% of them in order to be able to spread that culture. And what we want to do is we want to get to the point where we can tolerate and then just spread the culture in the capital, in our capital, not really caring about getting them. This is what we did with Chewa. This is why our capital is 30% Chewa. But then what we will do is we will just be able to colonize all of this Saka lava instantly. And so this will be added to the sort of stable that we have of places that we can get really quick colonization on. So sponsor university is going to be a really nice parliament for us, because it's going to give us a progress towards innovative while we're doing it. And also 100 ducats is pretty good for us right now. We're kind of happy with that as a sort of stimulus, because it's giving us a very, very significant discount on that. So we are going to be taking our cabinet, and we are going to probably be putting a guy in charge here. I think we can get off of dev province. Well, actually, let's get off of stabilizing country. Just change societal values towards innovative. The idea being is now we can get over one full trend, and so we can start to push really, really close to 100. But we'll see if there's anyone particularly good. We, in general, have been kind of saving this for crown power characters, but honestly, that's probably a little bit of a wash at this point. We should just appoint some people. Also, there's been no one really good in terms of military attributes, so this is another reason we've done this. We'll appoint this guy, though. A little bit of a Swiss Army knife. We can switch him between admin and military. He is developing up a little bit here. This may not even be the best place to dev up, but we kind of want this place to get a little bit more population. It is our province that in particular has iron in it, and more dev will generally lead to more pops, and this is kind of the iron that is closest to our capital that we actually have a little bit of stuff in right now, although we could do this, but this is an entire province up here that has the iron, so that's a little bit far from us in terms of what we got going on, but that's really transitional. We maybe even want to take stuff directly ourselves and integrate it, except for integration is just generally a little bit on the weak side for us. I actually think we do have one location that needs integration, so we'll actually swap on over to that and get that integrated, and then once that is integrated, that'll get cored up because it is an accepted culture. Let's open up the cultures. We have accepted Swahili, and then we can unaccept Swahili so that we can start converting it up, because, well, it's not taking us too much capacity because they do have us a kindred, so maybe we don't unaccept them. It's only taking 0.7 capacity, but with Yao, we were accepting them, then we unaccepted them just to free up the capacity. Capacity is highly pressured as a resource for us, and it is causing us a pretty painful experience in regards to efficiency of our cabinet, such that actually the cabinet members are incredibly important, actually. Normally the cabinet members aren't too important because you have just a ton of actual modifiers, but we have negative modifiers, so maybe we actually appoint a guy in and kind of handle that from multiple perspectives, but the one we're kind of drawing attention to here is this guy getting a little bit more push towards innovative. That additional 0.04 is going to come in quite nicely, and we are going to get 6 ticks of 1.24, so just shy of maxing out innovative here off the backs of we could not be even remotely close to doing this without sponsor universities, so we are more than happy to be receiving this. Also, monthly research progress for 6 months, that's not exactly a nothing burger either. So generally speaking, our subjects are not going to be very aggressive about building roads, and so we will probably spend a little bit more than we otherwise would building roads, specifically where they have really good RGOs, so that this will overcome for them the proximity, the fact that they will void the proximity effect of the forest and jungle, which is tremendous. Like, if we take a look at this guy's proximity, right, for this segment, he is paying 15, which is actually not too bad because he has a river, but he would be paying less if we didn't have a forest. Also, tribesmen, they will be promoting up tribesmen decently well because control modulates or moderates how many promotions you are going to get as a modifier, lack of control, and so this is actually going to be really nice for them. But since the river is actually going so well, maybe we go the other direction, or maybe we go laterally with the fruit in terms of what we are doing. We are going to build a road connecting two things, and so here might be a little bit better, where if you take a look here, this segment is 56, and we could get the cost of this segment for them down to like 18 by building a road between these two, because it's going to override the effect of the forest. And then on top of that, they're using dev province, right? Or they stopped using dev province. Fascinating. But when they were using dev province, they were getting a lot of flat dev, but a percentage modifier that's offsetting it is the forest vegetation, right? And so the has road modifier would be useful. So we can go ahead and build roads in our subjects, at least a little bit. We're not going to connect everything together, but instead we are just trying to paint on the map the presence of a road. At least it doesn't matter that everything's connected. It matters that everything has a road, because the road will be overriding both the or it will be providing both development, and it will be overriding the negative effects that a vegetation has on this, as we've been mentioning kind of throughout the run. But the point is that normally we would not be so aggressive about building roads in our subjects, and we're about to be a little bit aggressive about it. So bureaucracy law is going to be very nice for us, allowing us to go decentralized bureaucracy, which incidentally is just going to naturally push us towards 100 decentralization, which is what we want, and the additional prosperity is going to be nice as well. I think as far as modifiers go, it's a little bit hard to track it through the tooltips because it doesn't kind of tell you what's going on, but we are now getting 0.68, and have to keep in mind decentralized bureaucracy is going to give us another 0.09 on top of this, and so we are getting 0.76, let's call it, and then the base amount is 0.25. So with all of this together, we should actually be able to push up to 100 prosperity in locations. So we have locked it in. We can pop it, we can lock it, we can in fact drop it, because this is going to be moving in that wait, just... Oh, quite a bit of satisfaction negative to overcome here, actually. Okay, so we will probably could use some more sources of it, but this place at least will go up to 85. I think like Kilwa will have pretty high satisfaction. Their prosperity is close to 100, and yeah, their prosperity will lock in at 100. Some of our places, I think this has the Yao pops, which we stopped accepting, and now they're discriminated against. Yeah, and this kind of explains why the average status. Yeah. That's the ticker. So this is a building that I've been rethinking or thinking about because a lot of people have told me that counting houses and local modifiers are multiplicative. What I've observed seems to suggest that they're additive, but there really isn't a good way for observing this in game as far as I can tell, which is a little bit unfortunate. But in either case, it is going to be very nice for increasing crown power, which is what we're about. We're going to see what our price collapse on this looks like. If it's reasonable, which it is, we're just going to spam them everywhere. And I think by everywhere, we mean anywhere that has like over 10k pops, which is going to be most of our urban locations, but not all of them. Actually, we can't afford it everywhere. So we will prioritize the higher pop places a little bit more, which it looks like we have. Let's take this one out and go for this one. That should be pretty good. This one, because, well, probably doesn't make too big a difference. Also, one of the reasons we expanded this and made this urban, we have yet to kind of add the marketplaces there, which is the classic of what we are building first in every single location. But we are going to actually want a slave center here. The idea being that this eventually, we want this to be a city, because we are going to trace from the capital to the lake here through this location, and we do want it to be a city, so we can build a pound lock canal here because we do have rivers all the way through, and so this is going to be an important piece. And so getting this down early means that if we fight people and we take slaves, this is one of the locations the slaves can get punted to, and the slaves do count towards your ability to upgrade, and so that is going to be important. There's no one here for us to enslave because it's just primary culture pops and people who are already slaves, so it's not going to be useful in that manner. But it will produce goods, so it's going to produce economic activity. It produces the good of a slave without producing the pop of a slave, but that's something we're kind of okay with because it's just free-ish economic activity. We have to be a little bit selective with how we decide to go about colonizing these provinces to try and maximize the surface area we have for missions. So currently we don't have missions in these two locations, right? Because we don't have any locations bordering these, and we don't have a mission in this location. And so when we establish a new colony, we want to maximize the amount of free instant colonies we get. This one, accepted culture, Sunni faith, so this will be an instant colony for us, and at the same time also maximize the amount of new surface area we're going to get. So when we colonize this, we're going to get surface area on 3 more locations, and we are going to instantly colonize, which is going to be nice, moving into the Chewa pops. And then from here, we will be able to add 3 more missions as well. These missions, of course, are hugely discounted by the fact that we're a republic, and so we'll go 1, 1, 1. And then we can also now, once this finishes, we probably won't colonize this, even though it's an instant colony. We'll probably wait for this to finish, and then build a mission here, and then once these are all 3 instant finishes, then we colonize this province here. That way we don't gum up the works too much. Normally we kind of have a rule of thumb where you don't want to spend over 10% of your income on colonies, of your marginal income, and right now we're spending like 15%, but I think that it's just so high value for us right now that it can make sense for us to do it. And so we are going to be taking a look through also where we have missions, and just trying to cross-section this. Here, let's cancel this so it's a little bit easier to see. Cross-section this with areas that are, full colonies. And so we know that we don't accept all the pops here, so that's not going to work for us. But for example, here, we could think about colonizing this province, but there's 3 unmissioned places. Here, there's 2 unmissioned places. But our new mission once we finish this colony, we'll be able to mission here and here. And so when we eventually get to the point where this Tete, province, when we colonize this, the entire thing will be instant. Because once we finish this, we'll get surface area on this, we'll be able to colonize these two, and then we will colonize this all instantly. Oh, not just kidding, this is Senna. That is not an accepted pop. So just these two locations will be instant, the other ones won't. And so this is kind of how we'll be going about things. I think that we also don't necessarily have too great a way into surface area. Actually, you know what? We're just finishing up on these guys, a CB. Once we have the CB, we'll have a little bit better surface area here, but just checking out Shona a little bit, what we currently have, and it's looking like we're close to fully saturating Shona, actually, where it's like these two locations, a little bit in the back, that's currently, nope, it's all owned by Zimbabwe, so almost have this fully saturated. So moving in on Chewa here, we're also needing a war to get some prestige, because we have enough of these pops to accept them and then start promoting in the capital, but we don't have enough we don't have enough prestige to be able to do this, and so we need to fight a war for some prestige. So we have here, taking a look at our proximity, we have 10 proximity over here in Madagascar, in kind of the better locations here. And if we check where we're tracing from, we can see that we have some chief segments here, and a big part of that is this has, even though it doesn't look like it, 100 maritime presence. Now this is for the entire province here, and so this one fleet that we have is just enough, if we take a look, to maintain the level of proximity we have in all these locations. So this is capped out, this is done, this province is taken care of. Because patrols don't care about these open sea zones, these non-coastal sea zones, just patrolling your fleets seems to not be that effective, which is a little bit annoying, because taking a look here, if we look how we're doing proximity, we're going through a non-coastal sea zone, non-coastal sea zone, non-coastal sea zone, and so these things will matter. So this is handled, and we will continue. We split off a big chunk of this fleet and distributed it down here, and so we are going to continue gaining additional maritime presence in these kind of areas. You can see this is getting pushed up all over the place, and so we should be getting more and more proximity as it stands, both to like the coast over here, which is going to be important. This is an important location for us because it is one of our higher pop locations. In fact, maybe we should prioritize this in terms of where we are trying to get additional fleets or additional ships. So let's actually just add a little bit to all of the queue. For this, go up to 15 boats, and then we also have a little bit up here because we are pushing naval proximity here. Notably, if we are coming in here and we take a look, we are going to be, we're not going through non-coastal sea zones. I imagine we would if they had better proximity, because it's fewer zones to go through. So this one's 100, but you see this one's only 20, and so the coastal ones generally do better because they have locations or things that are giving them additional proximity. But a little bit curious that this doesn't go through. I guess it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I guess it's exactly the same, but you start moving over, one more, and there we have it. Going through the kind of non-coastal sea zones will be important. Up here in terms of proximity that we have is 20, which is, 15 control. We do want, because you get a discount on previous age techs, but it doesn't get bigger as you get into previous, or as you get into further back ages, we do have in the queue, or have added to the queue, a whole bunch of age 1 techs. Not too crazy in terms of the tech power level, but we would like to finish these in this age before we get over to 37. We are also probably getting to a size where having Arabic as our court language is actually going to make it the #1 language. Currently, let's take a look and see if we can kick things up. Currently, we are getting 0.18 in terms of the liturgical language. If we do that, make that swap and peel the month off, it does become the most powerful language, so we will be getting a little bit of extra research progress that way. All right, time to make a few moves here. We decided to accept these culture. I think that maybe we're actually just supposed to leave them discriminated against, but in either case, we are now promoting the culture. Maybe you have to have them not discriminated or tolerated to be able to promote them, but okay, we're promoting them. That's thing one. Thing two, we want to take this out. We want to remove this as accepted. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to hand off to this guy a province. So we're going to hand him off this province. It's only 3 locations, so I don't really think it's worth releasing it as its own subject. That's going to cause a little bit of strain on the diplomats, but the idea is we're getting rid of some of our pops. We were 10% of these pops before, now we are 9%. I think that will decrease removed accepted cost. I think it was over 20 before, but let's just peel a month to see if it is going to update. If it needs to update, we see that that's down. Yeah, so this is going to take us 2 lost stab, 2 less stab. This guy has been flipped to our culture, so he'll culture convert it to our stuff anyways. But now, which is also one of the ways in which we are decreasing the pressure on our accepted cultures, is we are getting these guys to fully convert out the culture. That way it is going to be one that requires less capacity to accept. But now we are going to remove this as accepted. And so they will get very upset, all of them, which, to be fair, we do have a good chunk of them. But now we can start culture converting them to our culture, and we might actively do this. But the idea is we're freeing up capacity for ourselves. So now we have capacity freed up to be able to accept these guys. We're going to need the prestige, and we're going to need them over 2.5. But that is kind of coming on up. Now, also, we are about to increase the percentage of our country that is Maku Hua. We had been kind of just holding off on releasing subjects, but now let's release a few of these guys, and because we want them to be able to dev province, we want them to integrate stuff for us. In particular over here, we really want them to be doing that type of stuff, although kind of a weird shaped province. They're not going to have the full province here. I think we release 2 subjects and we hold on to these 3 territories. But the idea is we are increasing the percentage of our country that is going to be the guys that we just stopped accepting. And had we done this in the other order, it would have cost us more stab than it did. So let's do custom subject. Come in, vassal, just sort by most, competent, and then put the woman in charge, because the woman we will not be able to use. This is just like a rough heuristic. We put the woman in charge. There's probably a better way to be doing this, but we're just trying to be a little bit faster, so we can do a little bit of that. And then we might release 1 or 2 more, but then we're also, with all this newly conquered territory, going to be able to extend out all these missions again once more, so that we can look to pip some more of these locations. And that's one of the reasons we didn't finish off Zimbabwe. We could have full annexed them. We low-key just want to be able to humiliate them again for the 5 prestige, I think, or at least have that option, because we don't have too many people nearby that we can do this to, so that is going to be a little bit nice for us. And also, once these missions complete, I do believe at least, okay, part of it is Shona, part of it is Songa, and also this, and so maybe we work on Songa and Senna next after Sakalava. We get this, and we just kind of integrate all of these. So we did notice something a little bit interesting, which is the demand for the loud cars outside, and by that I mean fine cloth, finally appeared for needs of the burgers, and I think that I know the reason why. We finally have a location over 20 dev. We barely hit 20 dev with Kilwa, and so this is kind of an interesting type of thing that we have going on, especially because Parliament, specifically, when you host Parliament, it gives you an enormous amount of dev, and so we are left with an interesting sort of decision point regarding, hey, what provinces do we want to dev up? And I think in particular we want to dev in a straight line towards where we want our infrastructure going to the lakes, because this is going to make it easy. More dev is going to make it easier to pull more pops there. It's going to give us more pop capacity. And then also, I'm not sure, this is a math thing, right? But I'm not sure what the breakpoints look like for step laddering additional dev towards creating pop demand. But if it's not that big a jump after 20 dev, in theory, you'd want to push things to dev 20 and then move on to the next thing. So regarding where our parliament is, we will do it right there. And we get dev the interior. It's a shame we don't have more money kind of stocked up here. I think we're going to go dev the interior and intentionally fail it so that we get the progression towards naval. We're at 80 right now, so that'll be what we do. And then the intentional fail is kind of nice because we haven't intentionally failed in a while. So we might get some sort of claim on Afat. No, we've been improving relations with Afat. We could go after these guys. We've been improving relations with Afat so that we could maybe do something like offering them an alliance, which we can do now, because they are the really big Somali culture. And we were thinking maybe we accept Somali, and then we improve cultural opinion, and to do that as much as we would like, we need to have an alliance with them. This is just a hodgepodge of a bunch of random stuff, and so I was thinking we go after Afat last, and go after like Warsangali and Ethiopia before then, especially considering what we have going on where this is the land of the lakes, and we actually are really quite closer to Ethiopia than it appears. Speaking of land of the lakes, we are going for a CB on this guy here right now as well. A nice little parliament war on these guys on the back end of Madagascar, and a big point of this is just getting the prestige up, and that way we can come in here and accepted culture this. So this is now going to be an accepted culture, and you know what, the way that we're playing around prestige actually maybe suggests that we should go ahead and grab this so that we can invest in art, or invest in culture. In fact, we might have even got it through a Muslim text. It doesn't look like it, but the fact that we're just scrambling for just getting up to 1 prestige, or getting up to 5 prestige is kind of a little bit of play pattern not used to going into too much. But now the Sakalava, these guys will be instant colonizations for us, and we have already come in here and pre-converted them all, and so these colonies will be very, very fast, and so we will establish all of these, I think. Oh, we're throttled by the fact that we don't have money. The truth hurts. It's just like real life. Okay, we'll bring this guy back, and then once the month tick happens, these colonies will finish, and we will, start on the next colony, and so on and so forth. These guys will finish real quick, and this will be new trade goods into our market for us to trade with. And this one, just the entire colony is finished. That's the entire province. We could, for example, wait to do this one because it's only going to be 3 locations that finish instantly, and we have a little bit more surface area, and so we could, maybe this is a little bit more tight to go here first, and then also to go here. Do we not have the colony here already established? If we take a look, oh, it's already Sunni, but this place is going to not be Sunni. Yeah, so we can also come in here and colonize this, and we will instantly finish 2 of these. We will need to wait 1 more month, but the idea is very much the same. We have added another culture that we are instant completing colonies on, and this is going to be a big chunk of Madagascar for us. I'm really not sure what's best here. I think I could go for any single one of these. Thought about it for quite a bit, kind of agonized over the decision. We do want the trade range used overseas. This is a modifier that has increasing marginal value, and the spy network construction 50%, that's pretty good. We also would not mind the diplomats. However, there's a world where we become Diplo Hedge, and once you get Diplo Hedge and Diplo Core, that's going to be a lot of diplomats that you're going to be acquiring anyways, so maybe a little bit marginal, and colonial range is not actually that useful for us. We have monthly colonial migration, we're into this, but we have monthly colonial migration also on administrative focus. Overseas trade, additional trade range would be nice, but eventually you get enough trade range anyways, and especially if you are a coastal province or a coastal nation that push naval, trade range tends not to be an issue later. And then Quest for the New World is kind of okay, but we're kind of doing a little bit of a different colonial thing, just overall, and I don't know if we settle the Americas anytime soon, and so exploring those very, very quickly is not necessarily the biggest deal, but we're also somewhat far from them, and we can also go for the Spice Islands, this type of stuff, and so we would like discounts and faster for the exploration, but we mainly just kind of need more money for the exploration to feel really good, although now it's going to be a lot faster with the in-age bonus that we are going to be getting from Age of Discovery here, where we will be getting 0.25 progress on exploration. We also started an exploration just a little time ago on this, so that will be coming in soon for the lakes. But what we have on admin is also okay, this is non-zero efficiency of cabinet. The culture conversion, or sorry, the conversion speed's not that big a deal. We're not really trying to convert people. We have a lot of tolerance of heathens. The building cost is really nice, especially when we have it in 2 spots. So the urban building cost will get minus 20%. And this will make them a lot cheaper. But we aren't exactly hurting for the ability to build buildings. A lot of our money is going to roads. There's going to be an upgraded road, this type of thing, and so a lot of it is we just don't have enough pops, we don't have enough dev, although if we start fighting some big people, we could get some of that stuff. Trade capacity plus 25%, we're kind of into that. Monthly colonial migration, you can see is matched 50% in both Diplo and the other one, and that's kind of like what we have going on here. We could also do military focus, and I think that if we were anywhere remotely in the kind of sphere of this being a multiplayer, we would go military focus like slam dunk, because having the naval initiative and the heavy ship power would really be quite nice. Navy morale, this is like really the naval age that you are going to be kind of getting. Army morale's kind of okay as well, but if there was someone to take, generally speaking, the military focus in this age is really kind of geared towards naval civs, and this is where we would kind of have our bread and butter, and the other ones aren't looking too insane. I think we're going to have a little bit of a think, but probably going to be going administrative focus. I'm still agonizing over this decision. Alright, I think we're going to go admin focus. I think once we take a bunch of slaves and the slaves start promoting to regular pops and then they start assimilating and we actually get a decent amount of population kind of in our power base, that administrative focus will be better, and diplomatic focus might be better just like in a decentralized kind of way, and probably better over the course of the next 150 years, but like super long-term administrative focus is a little bit better, but I think it's pretty marginal either way. We're going to go administrative focus, and then we got to pick up some new techs, and by new techs I mean old techs, and by old techs I mean stuff that we didn't get in the Age of Renaissance. We didn't idle research, and somehow I feel like we're still slightly behind, which I don't think they slowed down research speed in the aggregate, but we're going to go for armories because we hadn't picked those up. We can go for gunsmith and cannon maker, probably, but I don't think we're going to pick up any units from this age. It seems a little bit unnecessary. We definitely want military tactics as well, so can do something like this, and then that is probably what we do for this section of the tree, for this age, or the remainder of this age. There's a bunch of other stuff we need to pick up, but I think that we're at the point where we want at least some availability to these kinds of things, and to not be super far behind. We'll take a little bit of a look at the actually, you know what? I convinced myself that this is maybe not the way. We're going to, since we already locked in some research on this, we're not going to cancel that. But I think it just makes more sense to go for thirst for knowledge first if we're going to be, you got to thirst for first for thirst. If this is going to be what we're going for, kind of in the near future, and we're not fighting anyone who's too difficult, so I think that that's probably okay. And then I think we can go for this and this, and then go for the military stuff. Actually, we can explore a little bit better. We're missing out on explorations because we don't have enough manpower, now that I think about it. So maybe do something like this. Just go thirst for knowledge first, then into armories. That seems fine enough. We don't really need the gunpowder, gunsmith, or cannon maker in an immediate sort of sense, and so then we can go for maybe some of this. Gunsmith probably is going to be what we want. After that, the other stuff here is a little bit marginal, and this will be something we definitely want. But let's just go gunsmith, and that'll be our next 11 researches, so that should be pretty nice. So we have about a 40% chance to be the one who spawns printing press. We maybe could have gone out of our way to push this more beforehand. We have to produce more than 5 paper. We do have Renaissance, have more than 1,000 burgers. And so we could have urbanized a little bit more and pushed universities a little bit more. I think if we pushed a university now, by the time it's going to spawn before our university would finish, but in particular we could have pushed universities in a few more spots, and the university wouldn't be a terrible building right now, except for I think that this is kind of a little bit expensive. Yeah, our paper, our books, and our tools are all expensive. We are suffering from a little bit of some expensive stuff. We put some stuff in the queue, but we're going to have about a 40% chance to roll it up, and I think that we maritime presence 10% is also going to be nice. yeah, 40% chance to roll it. We could have done a little bit more ahead of time. We probably should have done a little bit more ahead of time because this is the one institution we can spawn. But at the same time, the new institution changes are absolutely insane. Or the change to exports now allowing you to spread institutions, as well as, here we get a little bit of spawn and we miss it. It spawns in Hamburg, not too big a deal, but the institutions are all now accounted for. This one is in northern Spain. This one is in, of course, the other one is, of course, in Hamburg, and the last one is in Metz. So kind of a little bit far are the institutions from us, but that's not too big a deal. We have some reasonable stuff to research. Hopefully, actually, maybe they're just really bad at pulling it. We can't trade with them, so nobody spawns it that can trade with it, but we are relying a little bit on... Could Alexandria not have spawned it? Oh no. Usually could have spawned the institution does give a bit of spread. Are we going to get that for... We're not going to get that for... I don't think... I'm not sure if we get it for printing press. Could have spawned institution as a bonus. We're kind of just waiting to see the month tick. I'm not 100% sure. We might be a little institution dry, actually. As things stand here, because we can pull... Okay, Pike and Shot is spreading over here. That's okay. Okay. If Pike and Shot is spreading over here, then Pike and Shot isn't going to be too far away on Alexandria. Very often it spawns in Alexandria. A little bit curious not to see it spawn or have a chance of spawning there, or to start to develop because they could have spawned it. This, for example, they could have spawned the institution, so that's why it's developing there. I'm sure that's what is up with the Pike and Shot kind of thing as well. Yeah, could have spawned it, and so very curious to not see that in Alexandria. But okay, we will get institutions eventually. We could, in theory, again, save scum, and this is just probably a strong play pattern in general for these countries that are a little bit further away from Europe, but overall it's fine. We have plenty of stuff to research kind of in here, and maybe we take another bit of a look here, considering we know that everything's going to be pretty far off for things that we are into. I think that rights of the nobility we're probably going to want to go for. Republican electorate law, if I recall correctly, isn't too crazy in terms of what you get, but it's got some good stuff. Life expectancy is kind of okay. Chancery, we definitely want to pick up another level. We are going to cost court, man. I hope we have so much flat stuff. I'm really hoping that we don't need cost court. Rag paper is a decent one. Pop promotion speed is going to be good with the tribe guys as well. And I suppose if we really need to, we could pick up like one or two of these. Cannon maker is going to be something we want, but we could pick up one or two of the... We'd really like to just wait for the Pike and Shot units rather than research these, but that means we have to go Pike and Shot reasonably early, so maybe it's better for us just to go Men-at-Arms. And so if we do change things up, we maybe are interposing Men-at-Arms. We're not researching, or we're not going for Diplo Annex cost. Yeah, we do want that. We're not going for Diplo Annex cost, the reason being... Oh, that's good as well. The reason we're not going for Diplo Annex cost is because right now it's bugged. Otherwise it's pretty good because it's making it cost more rather than less, so yeah. So... I was not aware of this, because it's not really something I'd pay attention to normally, but Ruler General during war, 0.2 prestige. So that's going to be useful for this strategy. So we're just going to probably sit in this war with at least enough to get 5 prestige and then humiliate for another 5. And then with that, we will have the full plus 10 required to fully accept another culture here. And that will be enough to accept Senna. I think that we either need to finish one thing on Senna, though, or we need to finish this little colonization here, which is almost done, and that should be enough. Or alternatively, how is this almost done? Was power projection really that important? Wow, it really is. Interesting. Well, we don't want to lose prestige, but power projection coming in super clutch here if this is almost done with just like 1/3 pops. So that's going to continue to be a modifier that we care about. But when that finishes, we ought to be able to accept Senna, and then Senna will be added to the fold just kind of in through here. Really just kind of punctuating this entire region here. Or not punctuating, but like bridging the gap that is really, really awkward right now for the cultures we have accepted so that we can instant colonize. That way we will have all of this land. So our plan was to humiliate these guys and then subjugate them and also flip their religion, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, it's 180 war score to humiliate them or to subjugate them. So I don't know what that's about, but okay, fair enough. We also have this wargle that I'm not even sure what it does, which is the subjugate natives in Middle Zambezi. Middle Zambezi is up here. I don't know what subjugate natives in Middle Zambezi does. They don't seem to be uprising. I haven't seen this before, so we're gonna go for it. Rather than just annexing them might be better, but we also want the prestige, and we can go for them again. So they're gonna click yes, and then does anything happen here? No, I don't think so. Did we just get 50 Matumbe guys? By virtue of doing that, I think that's what happened. Not really seen that before, but with the humiliation and also us improving the culture here in Kilwa for Senna and also finishing this one right here, we can now accept Senna, which we will, and don't really care that it's going to increase the cost because it's not about that. It's about sending a message. The message is we can colonize all this area and we will get it all in one go. Just kidding, we can't afford it. They said you can't afford us. They said you got to shop next door. They said you can't sit with us. But we will get all of those places, and then in the following month, we will get all of these places. And that will be Senna, fully colonized. I think that following this, we have some work to do in terms of releasing some subjects out. We just finished annexing this subject. In terms of what we can get via the coast, we are in somewhat good shape, so maybe we start keeping some of these coastal guys, but we also have to remember anything that's next to the lake we can get pretty easily, so this is something to keep in mind too. Chua, we already have accepted, same with Senna, so these guys aren't really adding our ability to accept anyone too much. And so I think what we're going to do is probably release almost all of this as subjects. We're just going to consult and keep an eye on kind of what we have going on. We have got Liberty Desire from events on almost all these guys because we keep forcing our culture on them, which will make them faster to integrate, and also because we're trying to get them to flip our culture. So this guy, he might have flipped back, but we did flip him our culture. They do love flipping back. And so what this guy will do, let's see, nope, Matumbe, he's still there. He's converting over. Soon the Makua culture will be erased from here to some extent. And that is going to be nice for us because we no longer accept them because we kicked them to the curb after they failed the use of just the instant colonization, which is going quite nicely. We also, for our next one, can go for these guys. Really big pop here, 38k, and they have some culture right here, and so we could get some instant colonizations there, but then we're going to kind of not really have any instant colonizations left. We maybe are going to be starting to work into some of them up here in terms of, here, let's provinces. No, it doesn't look like we have too much overlap between where we are getting new colonies or to finish out a province and areas where we could accept the pop. So maybe we have to like bite the bullet and start colonizing this just the normal way, which is a little bit of a shame, but you know, we've gotten quite a lot from these free colonizations so far. And this is what we've kind of settled on here, releasing this guy. Decided to go for three province guys. I think that maybe that's a little bit too many provinces for them to use dev province, but also the fewer subjects you have, the less pressure it is on your diplomats. I wanted to kind of offload some of the pressure on the diplomats at least a little bit, especially considering I do think that we annex these guys relatively quickly, at least these two, and so not too big a deal that they in the long term would produce less development or these types of things. And also they do, some of these guys are already, actually some of them already have a decent amount of Matumbi anyways, and so there's less effort for them to convert them when we eventually slot out Senna and this type of thing. And so I thought that this was fair enough. And then we also started improving relations with these two guys with the plan of annexing them relatively short order. I think we are going to start annexing this guy as well, just because we have to kind of get things moving to some degree, so that we stay ahead of any sort of liberty desire. And also at this point, going to be in a really good position to project control over this area, because we are going to get the next level of road. We're starting to get more money. We're starting to get to the point where we can afford roads, or higher tier roads, this type of thing. And our naval projection is also coming in. So this entire big pocket, don't necessarily need it as subjects as much anymore. We're also upgrading to our first city. Unfortunately, we couldn't upgrade the capital to a city. We need to fight someone with a large population at some point in time to slave raid them, and I think India is probably the option we would want to take, but I don't think we're quite strong enough, and I think that we'll probably look to do that when we hit our next age power spike on the military, because we can eventually support a pretty decent sized military with what we have. I think we have a decent amount of urban locations, and if we hit the power spike before they do, we'll be in really good shape. Here's the institution map mode. Unfortunately, they get institutions lightning fast too, so maybe we're just holding out for our power spike. That's probably not going to happen, and we should just look to rumble with Ethiopia, something a little bit more conservative. We do have a claim on this guy that'll last another 3 years, and I do believe he is not Sunni, and if he is not Sunni, then we could take slaves from him. I don't think he has an enormous amount of population, but it's okay, and it would ship more pops down this way where we would be able to build a little bit taller, so that's kind of something we're interested in. So because we don't have an enormous amount of dev and pop, the city upgrade is going to be really big for us because that increases the max level of buildings by 5, and so that is going to increase. So we're going to put down marketplaces here, which is going to increase the market access of here by 2.5, so that's going to come up to 0.88 or something like this, or wait, rather or 93%, let's say, and then also we're going to get to have way more of these, which is also the potential profit. It's actually probably going to be net positive, and the reason being is that once we add more, we will have additional throughput from economies of scale. Probably also having additional inputs here will help out as well, because I'm not sure which PM we're on. We're on the wool PM. We would do a little bit better on the cotton PM. Let's swatch on over to the cotton PM, especially considering we are going to be producing more of those, and so that will be nice. We also could use some more dyes, just having kind of looked at that. I do think we were producing dyes out of here because this is a place where we have inputs for it, so would that be profitable? Yeah, geez. We just, there's, not an enormous amount of demand in our market. Our opportunities for profit are relatively low. Our market is worth 462 in terms of its totals, and I think I think we checked last episode and we were beating out Spain's market here, but oh Jesus, now they're double ours. Maybe we checked Sevilla and we're beating out Sevilla, but not Bordeaux. We don't, the thing is pops are just such a huge driver of demand, and we just don't have a lot of those, and we don't have a lot of those at a high dev, and so the combination is a little bit rough, and we're getting to see it a little bit kind of up close, but we are a slaving nation, so we could take slaves, and so some of this will improve quite a bit, and let's see, are these guys using dev province? Actually, these guys probably aren't using dev province, because they start out with some cores. If we had cores on the territory, they would have cores on the territory. Oh, we should have waited a month before creating this guy, because then we would have had cores on everything. That was a little bit of a leak. But if we have cores on the thing, yeah, we should have waited a couple months so that we would get the cores. Because if you have the cores, it releases them with the cores, so it's pretty nice. So this guy has cores on everything, so he probably is using dev province in a couple spots. Maybe. Looks like he's not. Yeah, maybe 3 is kind of the break point where it's not going to be worth 2. They will often use dev province, but with 3 it's just too much. With a lot of these, you can see this guy's using dev province, and I think we culture flipped him as well, so he's probably also using the culture one. Yeah, you can see he's using assimilate culture to kind of push this over before we manage to bring him into the fold, so we have kind of what we had before, but before we released it all. So our rival in Elodia interfered with our war here, and we haven't really cared about resolving this war too much, more than content to just take a whole bunch of slaves. As it stands, if we take a look at the slaves map mode, we really didn't have too many slaves before or going into this war, and now you can see we have taken quite a few. 9k, 8k, 11k, 3k. It's a little bit of a, you know, crapshoot in terms of who gets the slaves, this type of stuff. But they are being sent all over to places where we are in particular taking slaves. This guy might be taking slaves himself now. He just needed them for some reason. And they got shipped to him, I guess. We also did get a parliament for gravel road network, and we put in a bunch of roads. Some of them are complete, some of them are still working in our subjects. The idea being that we just want them to get a little bit more dev and quite a bit more market access, so that'll be really nice for them. If we take a look at some of the proximity map modes, it's not so good unless they have vegetation or if they have roads. Like this guy has roads, so his market access is excellent. Also revealing quite a big chunks of the map. We are kind of consulting cultures pretty aggressively. At a certain point, we will not be able to instant colonize anymore because our primary culture will just become too big that we can't dump cultures, or our pops will become so big that we can't like dump cultures and this type of thing. You can see we have been intentionally releasing guys to lower our pops so that we could hit the 2.5% threshold so that we can annex these guys, and so this has been a play pattern, but we will be trying to get broad swaths of this as well if we can, especially if we can kind of entry level get these guys with a relatively small pop colonization, because the smaller the pops, the easier it is to colonize the area, and then we can get in. We are waiting on this here, this colony or this province, which we can colonize and instantly hit these three. We are waiting because it's going to be quite a lot of pops until we integrate this. I think that we probably can have Songa as accepted and then instant colonize all of this and then colonize this, and then in particular this we're probably not going to release as a subject because it's so close to us, because it's on the lake. So we are starting to get into the lake provinces, which we will keep for ourselves, which will kind of allow the subjects to shine a little bit, or will allow them to marinate, or however you want to look at it, where we will be able to be stronger relative to our subjects, and in doing so we won't have to worry about strength relative to subjects modifier, which is very soon going to start creeping up on us, and so we do have to be a little bit careful, although there's so many positive modifiers for relations that it's going to be quite strong. New one is Confederate Union instead of giving procs. That gives loyalty of subjects. We're still kind of okay with that, and so we switched to this law as well during last parliament. Alright, so we got the cultural accept on Songa, that is this down here. Hopefully we're pronouncing that right, almost certainly not. So we are going to go ahead and colonize there, and I think that we should have just this entire colony, just all in one go. Keep it as part of Kilwa for now, except we're probably almost certainly going to release that as a subject and just keep the coastal portion for ourselves. We have a little bit of a thing where we have kind of these fleets of 10, the Kilwan Dows, which are pretty good for just maintaining or not really getting us to the top level, but they can maintain. So this 10 stack seems to be good enough to maintain once we already have the full kind of amount. Looks like actually we're going to need a little bit, one more here, but we'll kind of micro this and increase as needed, add to these fleets. And so we have one fleet per sea province, and so each province is going to be increased by the entire fleet, and so this is the way we're going to be doing it. And then we have kind of this roamer fleet, which is got the Zambucks, which are our transport ships that have extra maritime presence, which feels very cute. I don't know how good this is, but it feels very nice that we can have the fleet that's actually meant to do combat and transport transport troops, and have it also be meaningfully good at bringing up maritime presence. And we're having this one roam around and kind of bring these places up to cap, and then once they're at cap, we just maintain with the fleet sitting there. And so in this way, we are developing more and more proximity. Of course, this is brand new, so that's going to be a bit of a thing. And then I think that once we have, it's going to take another 250. Oh man, starting these colonial charters is also just really expensive. It takes 250 to start them, and so this is where a lot of our money has been going, in addition to a lot of it it going towards these missions and explorations and these types of things. One thing we were just wanting to double check is there, no, there's not another culture up here. So I think that what we're going to do with this guy is we're also just going to, he served his purpose of allowing us to kind of leapfrog out and explore these areas, in addition to his culture being one that we needed to be able to get the instant kind of colonizes on this guy. So I think that we are going to just create a new subject out of him. A little bit surprised he's not bigger, or that the province there isn't bigger, but we will do our classic. Is there a woman? No, there's not. All right, he's good enough. Fair enough. Yeah, Rift Valley was a different culture, so didn't want to go out of our way to colonize it, so that is going to be just a nice little subject for ours. It's very strange, but we're intentionally trying to keep the pop down in some sort of sense, at least while we continue to get these free colonies coming on through. But yeah, we're going to need a few months to get the free colony here, the free colony in Songa. I think we'll prioritize Songa because we do want to release this as a subject, or these various areas as a subject, and so we're also going to need to explore here, but we do not have the money. Everything costs money, yeah. So we have some market issues, specifically up here, zero market access, not very strong, this type of thing. And for a while, we've been kind of chewing on the decision of where do we put the market capital for Madagascar. And for a while I was thinking, hey, there's a river down here. This is kind of in the open clearing, kind of, relatively centralized for Madagascar, should be decent to this type of thing. And now I'm starting to think that maybe it's just two markets. And if it's two markets, that makes our decision making much, much easier, because we could do one down in the clearing kind of over here. We could attach it to the river. This seems like a fine enough location, especially because it pushes pretty far inland, because it's like a deep location. In particular, we don't care about harbor capacity because none of these harbors are good. And so this seems fairly good. And then on the backside, we have all the valuable RGOs. They trade really well. And on the front side, we have like all the pops, and they are good at doing pop things, although these guys have a decent amount of pops. But anyways, the idea was, okay, maybe we do two markets, and I was thinking that this actually seems okay. And then we are also taking a closer look at some of the provinces up here, and some of these are actually really big. This one has 7. If we hover here, you can see 7 locations, 8 locations, looking up here in terms of the number of locations, this type of stuff. And then this one has 8 locations as well. This is pretty big. So Dev Province will be relatively effective. And honestly, our cabinet actions have felt like maybe not the most utilized, but this one has 10. So we have started deving this province, and since we're deving this province, we're going to do a few things. First of all, we actually like the idea of a market capital right here, because this place reaches pretty far inland, or it's on the coast, but it's like kind of cheated inland a little bit, so it'll get better access to inland. It is on a river, so it will propagate upstream better, these types of things. And then it also is in the middle of this really nice, big, province that it has 10 locations in it, this type of thing. And then it just like seems pretty centrally located in terms of what's going on, and there's a bunch of flatlands here, so it seems pretty good. But also, I think we mentioned we're dev provincing a little bit now. Because we are dev provincing, we are going to prioritize putting down roads here, because the roads will allow the dev province to be more effective, because the dev province is a flat value, right? And then the roads are percentage value, so this is going to be effective. And then on top of all this, this is reasonably close to the capital, so this will be I think a good enough place for us to be putting this down, and also expedient at this point in time, because zero market access. So we hadn't been doing it for a long time, because I was thinking, hey, okay, we'll just make it in the south, but I think it's just 2, and if it's just 2, this one's going to be an absolutely spectacular spot for it, and this is also going to make this subject pop off. It's going to make everything here a lot more valuable. Our auto queue will start to pick some stuff up here. We're going to have to like reset and make our own kind of like whole entire market here as a result of this, but I do think that this will be much better, and we'll also give the road a chance to kind of become active. I think that what we're going to do is we're going to put down masonry in the capital, specifically the market capital, just because we want to get it up it going, and we'll put down a decent amount of masonry. And this will cut into the Sofala market. But as you can see, the entirety of this island is now in this market. So this is going to be a pretty good trade spot as well. And give us a little bit more leverage and control because half of Madagascar was in Sofala, which we kind of didn't like. And this does seem like overall a better place for it. And now, of course, we have 100% market access. And it's going to make our colonization here a lot more valuable. Especially, we are starting to eye this saffron, which is going to be really valuable for trade, and so this is going to be good. And I think that we're probably going to create subjects out of most of the rest of Madagascar, or most of the kind of the back end, kind of like how we have with this guy. So them having access to a much better market is going to be helpful for them. And also, if we make too many subjects and they have really low market access, they'll make their own market, and we don't want that. This guy has really low market access, so maybe we want to even prioritize making the market down here that we were kind of eyeballing in this location, in which case we would want to colonize it, but it's not a high priority colonization, so maybe we just leave things as they are. But we will be putting down roads here and trying to make the use out of the biggest use out of the Dev province possible. I don't think there's another province anywhere near us that is anywhere close to 10 locations. Yeah, none of this looks like even remotely like that. 5, 3. There's no point in counting. This is by far, I think, the biggest province in terms of number of locations anywhere near us. Alright, so we've fully saturated Shona, we've gotten everything, and we actually don't even have that many Shona props. We've taken this off of Buganda. This is just kind of the entirety of Rutara that we've taken off of them. Don't need to eat them all in one go, but now what we can do is we can stop accepting Shona, which will refund 0.7 capacity, and with the Rutara, we are in no danger of not having less than 2.5%. This is just an absolutely insanely large thing. We are going to put them on tolerated, which is going to use quite a bit of capacity. We wish we had more capacity, but the idea here is that we are going to accept... Oh, geez, accepting them is going to be so expensive. But we're thinking that we accept them and then release this as a subject. This is not integrated, this type of thing, but what we could do is, once they're accepted, we can finish these colonies extremely quickly, and these are very, very high pop colonies. Here, let's get the right thing. Yeah, you can see hundreds of thousands of pops up here kind of in this region, and so once we eventually colonize it, or once we eventually integrate these guys, this is going to be an absolutely enormous thing. Also, we're looking around, and one of these things has 10 locations. Yeah, so 10 locations up here, and it's important to emphasize that all this is actually, it doesn't look close to our capital, but the entire lake system, since it's connected via these lake to the capital, it's actually very close to the capital, and so we maybe should have gone about going after this earlier, but we needed to explore, and exploration's really expensive, and so kind of dragged our feet a little bit, maybe, but maybe it's okay. But in either case, really, really soft. I also think we took like quite a bit of slaves there. Yeah, we took quite a bit of slaves. I think if we take a look at the slave map mode, we should be able to get a better kind of inkling of what's going on, where we, 13,000, 17,000, 13,000, 17,900, getting quite a bit more slaves here, 4,000 than we had before. I think we're going to save up to be able to also upgrade Kilwa to a city. Lumber's also been an issue here, a very extended kind of issue that has been kind of rearing its ugly head later on. We have been in a lumber deficit. A big part of this is tar kilns. We hate the tar kilns. We might actually delete down some tar kilns and charcoal and look to import tar and charcoal, and this maybe be a little bit of an approach, because these things are pretty annoying. Yeah, let's cancel some of these, and if we have low prices of it, our auto queue will not want to build it up, and so our burgers are even exporting it. Yeah, so we could import it, but the import would affect the price less than well, actually, maybe imports make sense. It's so unprofitable to import it. Oh, I guess we're just going to continue to try and expand out the lumber. One of the issues is also we're having tool prices be really high, and we kind of don't want to spam tools everywhere, but I guess that's kind of the soup we're swimming in. Maybe we have to spam them everywhere. at least in the locations where we have a little bit of a production bonus towards them already. The thing is, we're also low on what is it, the iron as well, but yeah, we probably just should have been spamming tools in more places so that we can get the lumber, and then once we get the lumber, we'll be happy, and maybe we delete some of these tar kilns, which are kind of being annoying, but they're exporting these goods and building extra, and the export is creating demand, and I wish we had a way to curb the burger exports in particular, and we don't really have a good way of doing it. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to look and see, is this a province that has wood in it? Because wood will have a production efficiency bonus, and if it's not a province with wood in it, we're going to delete some of these tar kilns. They're not especially good, and tar kilns are also like a secondary effect of you're having a bunch of forts. So our subjects having forts is kind of annoying because it extends the amount of tar kilns we otherwise are going to have. So let's kind of do that. We have some forts in the market, but this should decrease demand for the lumber a little bit as well. And try and, yeah, we've been maybe a little bit lazy about trying to fix this. And so expecting to see decreased demand because some of these tar kilns are going to be going away. So Ethiopia got reduced to an OPM. We promptly annexed them, and now we're just going to release them and have all these claims all over the place, or they're going to have these claims all over the place, and we're going to release them as a vassal. That's going to be fantastic for us. And also, they had as their subject Ifat. Now, Ifat was just a tributary, but now there are tributary because we annexed them. So that's the way that cookie crumbles, and we extend our reach all the way up the Horn of Africa here. Finally, we get access to the printing press. Really kind of us promoting our prestige using our slider doesn't really do anything at this point, so we're just kind of waiting for prestige events to be able to accept this guy. And also we are trying to accept this culture as well, the bestie, however this is pronounced, for the back end, where there is a whole ton of saffron to be had. So that is going to be nice, but us holding on to that location does increase the number of pops in our country by quite a lot, like 250,000. So this is a pretty sizable amount, and because of that, it is more difficult for us to embrace institutions. But we have our institution now, so we're going to embrace away. 15 stab is not too big a deal, and we will have a printing press. And the thing we love most about printing press is, man, oh man, you just hit the ground running with the max literacy coming in on this one, and then we will beeline the roads, which they have put down kind of closer to the bottom now. I think maybe there's a chance that we do something other than beeline roads, but roads is probably going to be the way that we want to approach this. Yeah, let's just go straight for roads, and then we will make sure to get the cabinet seat and the power projection, because the power projection matters, because we are beginning to colonize quite a bit, and then we will kind of take it from there. Chances are that we will go for the printing shop or the printing combo in Republican Power, books output, lumber output, especially with us having wood problems. And in fact, that might even be better than the cabinet seat and power projection, but I think that the roads are going to be kind of the biggest priority, probably the strongest tech overall in this age, and so we'll go literacy, and the roads will be really, really effective at getting us to this river, or this lake rather, and then once we're there, the gloves are off. We probably should be colonizing this for the purposes of actually getting the full proximity cost reduction now that we're actually starting to get on this lake a little bit more, and so we will go for this as well here. I think we're going to conclude the episode here. We are kind of... Okay, so on one hand, we're kind of popping off to some extent, getting all of these colonies for free, and trying to intentionally tamp down the population so that we can continue getting colonies for free, at least on a temporary basis before we incorporate them all, and we're starting to get onto the lakes, and we're going to have a bunch of proximity, and things are going well in that regard. But on some level, we're also like we're still playing a country that is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We have low dev, we have low pops. Part of this is intentional. Our two markets are each worth around 760. For comparison, Castile is like worth 1150, and Sevilla is like 700. And so if you total like all of Spain's markets are worth more. And I think this one's only worth like 100, something like this. And one of the issues we have is that just in general, there's not enough demand for goods in the market. And so there's not enough profitable opportunities in the market for us to do stuff. And so if we take a look at, like the building, and we sort by profit, and then we sort by what's the most profitable. Most profitable thing is Jewelers Guild, which, to be fair, we can push these a little bit more, obviously, because we're looking at them, but our most profitable buildings in general, or what we can build, it's like 0.31. It's like half a ducat, and this will also just decrease the profit of all the other buildings we have here. So what we lack is really profitable opportunities because there's not a lot of demand. Part of this is due to changes that were made to the demand profiles, where the demand profiles are scaling, and part of it has to do with we don't have a high enough development. Development scales demand. I think that scaling is now more important than it used to be on previous patches, and it just slowly kind of feels like we're gummed up. That's like thing one. But one of the ways in which it's scaling is based on how much profit we have. So it's a bit of a catch-22, because as our estates get more wealthy, as they start to get more money, they will start to demand more stuff. And there's a new modifier for this, and for example, it's supposed to scale, scale the expenses spent on, for example, fine cloth quite strongly. And so you can see here, they don't really demand a lot of fine cloth relative to kind of other situations or other past periods in time. And okay, the nobles were never the biggest demand, but like even the burghers here are demanding more livestock than they are fine cloth. And so, it's a catch-22 because we can't really get them more money unless we have demand for these profitable things. It's difficult for us to increase the tax base in locations. And so we have like a stall out, and this stall out is normal, but I think, or this stall out is kind of just a recursive pattern, and it is normal, but I think it's much stronger than it was before, with kind of some recent consumption and demand changes. And we're kind of thinking our way through this, and generally the stall breaks when you research paper workshop and printing workshop. And these are two kind of big techs for having a breakout economy. I think we're going to continue this run at least one more episode, and these four techs and roads are going to be huge. And they've always been huge. This has always been kind of the inflection point where your economy really takes off, is when you get roads of these four techs, and to a lesser extent, also when we are going to pick up, to a lesser extent because we are more trade-oriented, rights of the burghers, which is going to give us, because we're already a republic, we can just go curtail the burghers and get 10% max tax. But it's a little bit less important for us because we're more trade-oriented. And so expecting to have a pretty big pop-off, just to kind of like, last time we looked at this, it was like a third on income, where a third of ours was coming from trade, a third was dip, and a third was tax. It looks like we're a little bit more tax-oriented the last we checked. We can even tax the dimmy, they're over 100 approval, but this is with only 14% Republican tradition. So if our Republican tradition was only 14% crown power. If our crown power was a lot higher, our trade income would be a lot higher. And this is one of the reasons to be leaning into subjects a whole lot, is because stuff like this is just wrecking our crown power. We want to get off of this, and once we get some prestige, we can get off of this, but we really want to have just high proximity locations only, because that's high control locations, and so it's going to be good for the crown power, this type of thing. But this is kind of where things stand, as we are kind of at the tail end of a stall, where this is probably the worst it's going to feel, and then we're going to kind of pop off a little, but not super pop off, because it's important to recognize that we're still, even though Kilwa is way better than it was before, it's still, like, you're still this nation that starts with, like, 0 development, and you're in the middle of Africa, and, like, okay, you have a lot more game to you now, but we could be playing in India, which would be just way better. Although, we're excited for eventually annexing this guy. That's a whole lot of dev for us. But Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube algorithm thing, hit the notification bell. Also, if you're purchasing any Paradox products and you want to support the channel and you're purchasing at full price, if you buy off the official web store and use our code GENERALIST in all caps, we will get 12% of the sale. It is a little bit of inconvenience for you because you will be emailed the code and then you'll have to enter the code. But it is a good way to support the channel that doesn't involve you spending any additional money if you are already going to do that anyways. Obviously, if you're a person who waits for sales, just wait for the sale. And if you're not buying in USD, make sure you check the price on Steam as well, because the conversion rate between Steam and the official web store can be different, so it can be more or less expensive on one of those. Anyways, with all that said, hope you have a good one. Bye-bye now.